She loves me, she loves me not. She loves me,
She loves me not.
She loves me, she loves me not.
she loves me, she loves me not.
Finding yourself in the middle of a maybe is one of the most exhausting experiences in the world. One day they're texting you good morning, and the next, they're a ghost. You spend your lunch break analyzing the syntax of a 3-word text and your late nights wondering what you did wrong. If you're currently in this loop, I want you to take a breath. You aren't crazy, and you aren't obsessive. You are experiencing a very real, very documented psychological phenomenon. Mixed signals aren't just confusing, they are scientifically designed to be addictive. Here is why your brain is hooked on the breadcrumbs, and why it feels so hard to walk away. Number 1, the power of intermittent reinforcement. The single biggest reason mixed signals are addictive is a concept called intermittent reinforcement. In the 1950s, psychologist B.F. Skinner conducted experiments with pigeons and rats. He found that if a lab rat pressed a lever and received a treat every single time, the rat would eventually get full and stop pressing the lever. However, if the treat came randomly, sometimes after 1 press, sometimes after 20, and sometimes not at all, the rat became obsessed. It would press the lever compulsively, even to the point of exhaustion. When someone is consistently kind, your brain stabilizes. You feel safe. But when someone is hot and cold, your brain enters a slot machine state. Because you don't know when the next reward is coming, you become hyper-focused on the person. The unpredictability creates a higher level of engagement than total consistency ever could. You aren't addicted to the person, you're addicted to the possibility of the reward. Number 2, the dopamine roller coaster. Dopamine is often called the feel-good hormone, but that's a bit of a misconception. Dopamine is actually the hormone of anticipation and craving. When things are certain, dopamine levels stay relatively baseline, but when there is reward uncertainty, dopamine levels spike. When they ignore you, your dopamine drops, creating a state of craving or withdrawal. When they finally text back after 3 days, your brain releases a massive flood of dopamine. This high feels significantly more intense than the steady stream of dopamine you'd get from a healthy, consistent partner. You begin to associate that person with the most intense, peak feelings you've ever had, even if the valleys are miserable. Number 3, the Zeigarnik effect. Human brains hate an incomplete story. The Zeigarnik effect is a psychological phenomenon where people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. When someone gives you mixed signals, they are an open loop. Closed loop sounds like this. I like you, but I'm not ready for a relationship. Yes, it's painful, but the brain can process it and move on. While an open loop sounds like, I really like you, but I'm just so busy right now. Maybe next week. Because the task of winning them over or understanding the relationship is unfinished, your brain keeps bringing it to the front of your mind. You ruminate because your subconscious is trying to solve the puzzle. Number 4, the investment trap. The more time, emotional energy, and tears you invest into someone, the harder it becomes to admit that the investment isn't paying off. This is known in economics and psychology as the sunk cost fallacy. You tell yourself, I've already spent 6 months trying to make this work. If I leave now, all that effort was for nothing. What if they change right after I leave, and someone else gets the good version of them? You keep betting on them because you want to justify the cost you've already paid. You aren't looking at the relationship for what it is now. You're looking at it for what it could be if your investment finally pays out. Number 5, idealization and the peak-end rule. When someone is inconsistent, you don't fall in love with the actual person. You fall in love with the potential version of them. Psychologists call this the peak-end rule. We tend to judge an experience largely based on how we felt at its peak and at its end, rather than the total sum or average of every moment of the experience. When you're in a mixed signal situation, you cling to the peak, that one amazing night where you talked until 4 a.m. You use that peak to excuse the 2 weeks of silence. You tell yourself, the 4 a.m. person is the real them, and the silent person is just stressed or scared. Number 6, the anxious avoidant trap. If you have an anxious attachment style, mixed signals are your kryptonite. People with anxious attachment often feel like they have to earn love. When an avoidant person pulls away or gives a cold signal, it triggers the anxious person's abandonment wounds. This creates an activation syndrome where you become obsessed with reestablishing the connection. When the avoidant person finally gives a warm signal, the relief you feel is so profound that it mimics the feeling of deep love. In reality, it's just the nervous system switching from fight or flight back to rest and digest. Number 7, low self-esteem and validation. If deep down you don't feel enough, mixed signals can feel like a challenge to prove your worth. If a high-value person likes you consistently, you might actually find it boring or suspicious. If someone is inconsistent, winning their approval feels like the ultimate validation. You think, if I can get this person, who is so hard to get, to love me, then I must finally be special. You are using their mixed signals as a yardstick for your own value. A final word of advice. Mixed signals are a signal. They aren't a puzzle to be solved, and they aren't a reflection of your worth. They are a reflection of the other person's inability to provide a stable connection. The butterflies you feel when they finally text you back aren't always love. Often, they are your nervous system screaming in distress. True and healthy love shouldn't feel like a drug addiction. It should feel like coming home. You deserve someone who is excited to be with you every day, not just when it's convenient for them. Stop pressing the lever, the machine is broken. There are better ones waiting for you elsewhere.